Exuma, it's Marco back in your company on another fantastic Friday. I am so pleased to have in studio a friend of the Blaze and Exuma, certainly the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Fred Mitchell. Welcome back to Exuma. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm great. I'm an Exuma, so it can be never better.
And you are a familiar fixture because I know personally when I always visit the various Christmas lighting ceremonies, especially out east, you are always here every year. So welcome back. And what does it mean to you to pay such commitment, especially to the persons of Forbes Hill and Rolltown as well?
Well, there's a theory I have as a minister of the government that the country is much too Nassau-centric and that people ought to know the leaders of the country and they ought to know the people. And so the idea is to make sure that at least once or twice a year you touch base with the different islands and with the people who are there. And I've had a long history of this being with this island since 1977, and Lyndon Pindling, of course, was the prime minister at the time. George Smith and Livingston Coakley were the representatives, and so from that time to this, I've had this relationship, and I built on it.
Awesome. And of course, you're a familiar fixture in terms of when we have prominent members of the community who passed away, you're always here among some other dignitaries. And I know that personal connection means so much to a lot of persons. And I think most of the community would agree with me if we had a lot of our leaders have that same personal touch. Um, it would just have such a greater impact on the community. Now, your portfolio, of course, is a huge one, foreign affairs. We know a lot of things are happening, not just nationally, but internationally as well. And one of the things I wanted to pick your brain about, the Office of the Prime Minister would have had a statement that was released just a few days ago, and that really was in reference of the Trump transition team, sort of approaching them with this plan of when they want to do mass deportations, that the Bahamas, among other countries, would be one of the places that they would select. And one of the key things that was said in that statement is, of course, the Bahamas, first of all, doesn't even have the resources to accommodate that, and it was a flat-out rejection by the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip Davis. Can you expound a little bit about that?
Okay, I think the newspapers misread what was actually said, only in this sense. We can't have relationships with the Trump team. That's not the government. We have relationships with the government of the United States. So at no point did we have any meeting with or speak to the Trump team about this. This was something which was floated in the newspapers. What we do know is the existing administration of the United States, Joe Biden's administration, a few months ago, raised this issue of having what they called a lily pad, which is that people would be caught on the seas from Haiti or wherever, brought to an island in the Bahamas, and then there would be a staging and then flown to Haiti. We said flat out this was not something which was acceptable, which we could accommodate, that it was unacceptable to the Bahamian public, and that's where the idea died. There's been no, well, they've come back once or twice with different permutations of it, but on each occasion we said that's a non starter. We can't do it, and that was the end of it. Now, what the new administration wants to do, we can't speculate on that, but they don't become the administration until the 20th of January. And at the 20th of January, they can talk to us, but as far as that idea is concerned, that's a dead idea. Dead idea. Dead in the
Excellent.
water.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you for that. And speaking of that, we know that inauguration, like you said, January 20th, and I've even known a student personally who would have received a letter from their university. Most Bahamians, whether they're in the Family Islands or Nassau, coming home to enjoy Christmas before they return, and their university was appealing to them to just make sure you return home a little bit early because we're not particularly certain how things would change. As far as your ministry is concerned, is that a recommendation that you'd really want to advise returning students, etc.?
It is difficult to advise anyone on what the immigration climate is going to be like. There's so many wild and speculative stories, but I suppose better safe than sorry. And I guess what the universities are saying is enter the United States under the existing policies because you know what they are, and not after the 20th of January. Um, given what happened in the past, I don't think it's likely to affect students because they already have permission to be in the States. But as I say, there's no way to predict what will happen. And so, what do they say? Discretion is the better part of valor.
Awesome. And of course, we know we had quite a bit of mayhem in Parliament just this week. And I guess my question to you in that regard is, that incident has caused so much internal negativity, I would say, within the country. It's been a very polarizing issue as well. And of course, that comes on the heel of the US indictment, where we had a lot of senior police officers who were arrested in the US. And I wonder, just on your stance and your position, how you look at everything. How greatly do you see that impacting the Bahamas' reputation? And also, what is sort of your call to action or advice for persons not to get so consumed and just feed into the fodder all the time?
Well, the first thing I'd recommend them is go and listen to Stevie S.'s song, and it says, "Hold your head." That's all I say.
Yes.
Just hold your head.
Yes.
Because, first of all, only one police officer got arrested. Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, police officers have been arrested before. So, to me, people are just getting carried away with this. It doesn't have the importance, in my view, that people are attributing to it. There are corrupt actors in every country. And when you find corrupt actors, you seek to eliminate those corrupt actors. Also, there's a presumption of innocence. And we've seen the justice system in the United States. In fact, the man who is going to be president of the United States on the 20th of January had some terrible things to say about this very district that issued this indictment and his views about that particular office in the United States. So there's a lot of things swirling around. So that's it. I say, people, hold your head, just hear the other side, and be careful not to embrace the view that this country is systemically corrupt. It isn't. That's just rubbish. All right. Now, the opposition, of course, wants to become the government. A convenient shorthand in this country has always been to accuse the PLP of being corrupt. And that's worked on some people's imaginations. So they feel all fired up about this. The problem is the evidence that they are relying on is simply not there. So the facts just don't support what they're alleging. But, you can rent a crowd, you can get, a couple of people on a street making noise, and you can disrupt the House of Assembly. It's a civil country, civil polity. No one expects violence in the system. And people like the leaders of the opposition are now ready to press that button. I have a saying which I say to my friends, beating the Congo drum don't mean nothing to me. If you could beat the drum, I could beat the drum too. If you could scream, me too. George Mackey, my predecessor in Foxville, used to say, not only one woman born a crazy child, and if you could play crazy, I could play crazy too. And that's my attitude with all of this. Again, just hold your head. People don't get carried away with all this noise and nonsense that they're spinning. They should be condemned for the violence they fomented. A police officer was hurt. The deputy speaker was hurt and had to go to hospital. I see where the opposition leaders are posting online that they had to go to hospital because they were roughed up by the police. But the roughing up by the police was of their own making. They're the ones who precipitated it when the speaker asked them to leave the parliament and they refused to do so. So that's where we are. There's going to be a series of public meetings coming from the Progressive Liberal Party going forward to try and explain this to people. But the main thing is for all of us in all of these circumstances is to simply hold our heads. There's no reason to get carried away. There's not going to be any general election called right now. There's no need to call one. There's no legal justification for doing so. And the Progressive Liberal Party intends to serve out its term and go back to the Bahamian public to ask for another term because we think that that's in the best interest of the country.
Thank you, Minister. I know you have a very full day, limited time here in Exuma. If you have any final thoughts, well wishes for residents, I want to give you that opportunity.
Well, thank you very much first for this opportunity, and I want to wish everyone in Exuma and across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas a very Merry Christmas. I wish all the best in the new year, and I wish prosperity for this island. I've seen lots of improvements over the last year. I thank Chester Cooper, who's the MP here, for his service to country, and to all those who help support the work. I call them people of goodwill, who mean to have Exuma in their hearts and in their best interests. And good luck to the team in Exuma. I know there's Elvis and Mary's son will be racing in the best of the best at Montague, so I wish him luck and wish the family luck. God bless you all, and God bless our Commonwealth.
Thank you, Exuma. We've been in conversation with Minister of Foreign Affairs, Fred Mitchell, and it was a very engaging conversation, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your time while you're here in Exuma. And to all of our Blazers, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Okay, see you, Jen, tonight in Forbes Hill, right? Yeah, 7 o'clock. Bye-bye.